Madam President, I rise to once again call for this entire body to have the opportunity to consider and cast their votes on the Military Justice Improvement and Increasing Prevention Act. This common sense reform would ensure that people in the military who have been subjected to sexual assault and other serious crimes get the justice they deserve. I've been calling for a full vote on the floor of this bill since May 24th. That was 23 days ago. Since then, an estimated 1,288 service members will have been raped or sexually assaulted. 2 in 3 of the survivors will not even report it because they know they are more likely to face retaliation than to receive justice. Today, I want to share the story of the kind of offender that our bill would address. On March 30th of this year, Staff Sergeant Randall Hughes pled guilty to a series of rapes dating back to 2006 that he committed while the Army looked the other way. Staff Sergeant Hughes was only brought to justice after his brave daughter decided to come forward. Had the Army prosecuted him the first time one of his victims had come forward, his daughter may have been spared. At a Super Bowl party in 2017, Staff Sergeant Hughes fed drinks to his host, a soldier under his care, until the host passed out. He then approached his host's wife while she was outside the house. He propositioned her for sex, and when she refused, he forced himself on her against their grill outside their house and then dragged her inside their house where he raped her, all while the husband was passed out in the next room. The survivor hid in her bathroom until she could report the ordeal to CID the next day. CID took a year to investigate a relatively straightforward rape allegation. The command did nothing to expedite the investigation or hold CID's feet to the fire. CID determined that the allegations were credible, but the command did nothing. And instead of prosecuting him, the command put Staff Sergeant Hughes on the Sergeant First Class promotion list. Hopeless, the survivor asked that something, anything, be done. The command reacted by putting an administrative remark in his record. Staff Sergeant Hughes was transferred to a new duty station, Fort Dix. While at Fort Dix, after years of sexual abuse, his daughter bravely came forward to report that abuse. CID at Fort Dix then noticed the administrative remark in his record from the previous rape and began making inquiries. They learned he had raped 2 other women and physically abused his wife. The command had every tool available to stop Staff Sergeant Hughes from his serial rapes, including the abuse of his own daughter, but instead they turned a blind eye and did nothing. Even after he admitted to his crime and pled guilty, the Army offered a plea deal for 13 years of confinement. 13 years of confinement despite sexually assaulting 3 women, including a minor. This serial offender avoided justice for 15 years. Even when the command was forced to administer justice, he received a sentence less than we would give a drug offender. This case is why we need a professional military justice system worthy of the sacrifices the men and women in our military make every day. Having leadership at the top that truly cares, that is truly passionate about prosecuting sexual abuse, will have repercussions down the chain. Our bill does exactly this. We have 66 senators that have co-sponsored this bill. It deserves a vote on the floor. As if in legislative session, I ask unanimous consent that at a time to be determined by the Majority Leader, in consultation with the Republican Leader, the Senate Armed Services Committee be discharged from further consideration of S-1520 and the Senate proceed to its consideration. That there be 2 hours equally divided and the usual form, and that upon the use or yielding back of that time, the Senate vote on the bill with no intervening action or debate.
Is there objection?
Madam President.
The Senator from Rhode Island.
Mr. President, once again, I object to the request from the Senator from New York for the reasons I've previously stated. And I'll repeat again what I've said publicly and what I'm committed to. I support removing prosecution of sexual assault and related crimes from the chain of command, the types of crimes that Senator Gillibrand has just discussed. But her bill goes much further than this to remove crimes that are not related to sexual misconduct, and that's an issue we have to carefully consider. The removal of these crimes related to sexual contact, or misconduct, I should say, will be a momentous and truly historic change to the military justice system, and one which Senator Gillibrand can claim great responsibility for effecting it. We must take care, however, that we do it thoughtfully in a manner that does not break the military justice system. The worst thing we can do for victims of sexual assault is to move a bill through that can't be implemented effectively or on time, creates too large a workload for too few qualified military judge advocates, imperils prosecutions, leads to convictions to be overturned on appeal, or results in neglected cases because the necessary attention cannot be devoted to them. According to the Department of Defense, the number of full-time 06 colonels in non-military jargon, lawyer disposition authorities required to execute the system as proposed, which would take effect 180 days from enactment, exceeds the service's existing personnel inventory of judge advocates in that senior grade. And this doesn't account for her bill's requirement that these 06 judge advocates have significant trial and criminal law experience, or that they would not then be available for other important assignments reserved for 06s, such as military judges and division, corps, or combatant command staff judge advocates. The heads of the Service Judge Advocate General's Corps have previously raised concerns about the implementation timeline, the resources necessary to execute, and a host of other inconsistencies with the current system that would have to be addressed to ensure successful implementation. Let me stress, these are the very military lawyers that Senator Gillibrand's bill would empower to make prosecutorial decisions, which includes an evaluation of a far greater number of cases than simply those that end up in court-martial. These are the very issues we need to consider and address in the committee, and not to dispose of without amendment on the floor. And the committee will do this. It'll do it faithfully, and I am very much confident that we will be able to move legislation that does remove any crime-related sexual misconduct from the current command system to a system that Senator Gillibrand is proposing. With that, Madam President, I would reiterate my objection.
Objection is heard.
As you heard from the chairman of the committee, he only intends on taking one crime out of the chain of command, and that's sexual assault. And the reason why that is so problematic is, number one, it will continue to undermine women in the military, marginalize them, and isolate them, creating a pink court that all legal experts have agreed would be highly ineffective and would harm the military justice system. Second, our allies have already made this move. They've taken all serious crimes out of the chain of command and given to trained military prosecutors in the UK, Israel, Germany, Netherlands, and Australia. In those instances, they did it specifically for defendants' rights. And we have a similar problem in this country, because right now we have a great deal of racial bias in who gets punished. If you are black or brown in the U.S. military today, you are 2.5 times more likely to be punished, and most commanders are white commanders. There's further data that shows most black and brown service members have either experienced or witnessed racism within the ranks. So if we want to fix this criminal justice system, you need a bright line, and it should be at all serious crimes. That is how we fix the military justice system. That is how we give justice to sexual assault survivors. And for the chairman to say today that it would cost too much money, or that they don't have sufficient resources or sufficient lawyers, isn't true. And those are the same arguments that were used over the last 8 years about excluding sexual assault from the chain of command as well. So I don't think these are legitimate arguments. I think they are brought up year after year as just a way to put an impediment in front of the reform that is needed to fix the system. I now yield the floor to my colleague, Senator Grassley.
Senator Gillibrand, as one of the 65 other co-sponsors of this legislation, I think you're to be commended for every day coming to the floor to be as consistent in being for this legislation as you have been since 2013. And every one of us, thank you for your persistence. You need to be congratulated, and all the people that have been harmed by sexual assaults over the last decades owe you a great deal of gratitude for that. So I'm here to join Senator Gillibrand in asking for a vote on this crucial legislation, and obviously today we aren't going to get it, but eventually it's going to happen. You can't say no to 66 senators that want this legislation. The Military Justice and Improvement Prevention Act has that many bipartisan co-sponsors, and it's past time for this bill to become law. This legislation was first introduced by Senator Gillibrand and me and other senators 8 years ago, and has gained more and more support each year. Senators who previously were skeptical have come around and realized that the Department of Defense can't handle the pervasive problems of sexual assault on their own. The Armed Services Committee and the Department of Defense have had more than enough time to consider this idea. They've told us that they have it under control and tried other approaches. Those approaches have not worked. Women and men in the military continue to face high rates of sexual assault and retaliation. It's clear this bill is needed. By moving the decision to prosecute out of the chain of command, perpetrators of sexual assault and other serious crimes will be held accountable. Survivors will have more confidence in the process. Retaliation will be less likely. We've been waiting almost a decade. There's no need any longer to wait. I urge my colleagues to allow this bill to move forward today, and obviously it isn't going to move forward today, but Senator Gillibrand will be back here tomorrow asking the same thing, and I applaud you for doing that. I yield the floor.